Okay, we're going to reconvene to open session at 7:07. Mrs. Pierce, will you lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so the roll call will reflect that the entire cabinet is here either in person or audio-visually. The board is all here except for our student board member who was involved in a little fender bender, and so she's not going to make it. So having said that, we will move on to approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 12th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
By Anna Conover?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Seconded by Tricia Pierce. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Is there any addenda to this evening's agenda?
No change.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda of the meeting of February 2nd, 2021?
So moved, Anna Conover.
Conover, is there a second?
Second, Wendy Jonathan.
Tricia Pierce made it first. Any discussion on this? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's 5-0. Mr. Bailey, community staff student recognition.
I'd like to invite up our Public Information Officer, Ms. Mary Perry, and as she's approaching, I just wanted to recognize the communications team who received an award from CalSPRA, which is the California School Public Relations Association, for their logo design through the rebranding process last year. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. We're pretty excited and really proud of it. So I have a few announcements to make tonight, and it helps if you can speak English. So I want to say that excellence in learning continues through this new world of education. And the California 2019-2020 Honor Roll recognized 11 of our schools for demonstrating high levels of student academic achievement, improvement over time, and reduction in achievement gaps. At the high school level, they further recognized college readiness. And our schools joined 2,557 schools in the state of California recognized this year. So please join me in congratulating La Quinta High, John Glenn Middle, Palm Desert Charter Middle, Amelia Earhart Elementary, Dr. Ronaldo J. Carrion Jr. Academy, George Washington Charter, Gerald Ford Elementary, Harry Truman Elementary, James Carter Elementary, James Monroe Elementary, and Martin Van Buren Elementary. Drop my note. Okay. All right. Next on my list is to let you know that we have a student who is competing at the state level after winning the local Voice of Democracy essay competition. She received the award from the Bill Huntington Post 3699 of the Veterans of Foreign War. So congratulations to Shadow Hills High School student Laura Fimbris. And you know, in this unusual times, we look to our activities directors to help us create a sense of community. And of course, we have one with us tonight. So thank you for being here. They've done an awesome job of creating weeks to celebrate district-wide. And one of our high school activities directors is being recognized by Jostens Renaissance Education as their Staffel Member of the Month for February. And each month they name a National Renaissance student and Staffel member. The winning members demonstrate how they put the 5 R's into action. And you know, to me that's but anyway, R's. Respect, recognize, reward, reinforce, results. And these are the people who show their commitment to making a difference in the school and the communities. So congratulations to Shadow Hills High School Activities Director, Mary Alexander. And my final announcement is that the Riverside County Office of Education recently held an arts competition titled Quest for Peace and Justice. And the gentleman in the back can put some art pieces. So the first place winner countywide of the competition was a Palm Desert High School student. Her name is Jennifer DeLeon. Another Palm Desert High School student participated, and her work was recognized, and that is the work of Grishelle Guerrero. So I think you'll agree they're beautiful pieces. And finally, I'm here representing Director of Community Engagement and Foundation, Sean Webb. In the month of January, we had 48 nominees for the Recognize It program. And yesterday, we drew the names of the 2 people who won a CV Harvest Box. Actually, I think it was today that we did that. The days just blend together. So the first one who won was Shadow Hills High School Assistant Principal Karen Hernandez. She was nominated by a coworker who said that Mrs. Hernandez has launched into her new assignment with an eagerness and desire to learn and be of service. And it talked about the different parts of her job, including her completion of the school's emergency and disaster plan. The second person who won is Jim Lister-Looker, one of our DSUSD program specialists, and he too was nominated by a coworker who said that Jim is always available to discuss any issue, no matter what, and works together as a team. And he said he's just been really wanting to recognize Jim for a long time. So those are my announcements for today. Thank you very much for letting me share them with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back over to Mr. Bailey for introduction of new or recently promoted employees. Dr. Salazar? Okay, I guess that was that NA's for, right? All right, I'll look at that next time. Okay, information items, we don't have any of those either. Staff conference items, Palm Desert High School Associated Student Body Report, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Cooley, who will introduce our speaker.
Good evening, board. Good evening, cabinet. I would like to thank you guys for having us here tonight. And I'd like to introduce our ASB president, Senior Ethan Horn.
Hello, board. Hello, cabinet. I'm Ethan Horn, Palm Desert High School's ASB president. First off, I would like to thank Joe Martin, Aztec Videos, and the entirety of the ASB staff at Palm Desert. And we present you the best high school in the Coachella Valley.
Hi, I'm Ethan Horn, Palm Desert High School's ASB president. Although it has been a crazy year, here at Palm Desert we are doing our best to keep the greatness of our school alive and well, on campus or not. We are excited to show off what we have done, what we continue to do, and what we plan on doing in the future to improve the already high standards of what being an Aztec is all about.
Hello DSUSD members, I'm Ivy Toe, Palm Desert High School's ASB Executive Vice President. With the unprecedented pandemic that took over in March last year, everyone has had to adjust to new environments and new methods. Distance learning has become the main source of education for all students at PDHS, which is foreign to everyone. However, Aztec students have persevered and utilized all sources to their advantages. Students have proven their resilience with their unwavering spirit and ability to be PD all in. While ASB normally works directly with students and staff, we've discovered and reinvented ways to reach out to our community online. We continue with our virtual Spirit Weeks, both PD-specific and district-wide K-12 on Instagram. With large numbers of students participating, the senior class has started a segment called Senior Spotlight, where the feature a senior every few days and acknowledge what they've done over quarantine and the activities that they're involved in. We've also continued class fundraisers, blood drives, and canned food drives, doing our best to lay out our usual events while maintaining safety protocols.
Despite having to go into distance learning midway through the year last year, Palm Desert High is very proud of our academic accomplishments. 71% of Palm Desert High School students completed UC and CSU A through G requirements. As you can see, that is a new high and a huge improvement from 3 years ago, where only 49% met A through G requirements. Our graduation rate is up for the 3rd year in a row based on discipline data. Palm Desert is an extremely safe school. Palm Desert students are PD all in to support each other's success. Our annual survey results indicate that Palm Desert High is a great place to be. Palm Desert survey's results took a huge jump last year in regards to students feeling connected to our school. This shows our efforts to support all students through office hours, ASB, Aztec Impact, Link Crew, and academic programs are effective.
This year, Palm Desert High School became the first school in the Coachella Valley to offer College Board pre-AP curriculum to all 9th grade students. This program gives us a school-wide literacy focus. Most importantly, it continues the Palm Desert High School tradition of having high academic expectations. Our goal is to give every student the skill to take at least one AP course while at Palm Desert High School. Most of our students take multiple AP courses and exams.
As you can see from this video, our film and broadcasting pathway is excellent, but PDHS will be expanding its pathways with 4 new pathways in the area of performing arts: theater, dance, instrumental music, and musical voice.
Hi, I'm Sarit Sig. I'm one of the assistant principals at Palm Desert High School, and we run the career technical education programs at Palm Desert High. Those are programs where we prepare students with very specific tech skills in the area of study of their choice. The programs that we have already range from computer science, where kids get to certify in Java and go right into career with that certification. We have a health and medical academy at Palm Desert High School where students get a lot of hands-on experience in their internships, as well as some new technology that we have coming, and students are going to be able to simulate an operation, whether it's on an eye or the stomach, and so that's a really amazing aspect of our program and that hands-on experience. We have an engineering program where students learn about sustainable energy and what's going on as far as the work that's happening in our community over at the Salton Sea, and the students are working on real projects in real life in real time. We have a film and broadcasting program with a state-of-the-art studio where students have tons of hands-on experience with industry-level equipment and are producing videos that have won many, many awards around our community and our state. We're super proud. And lastly, I'd like to announce that we are starting 4 new performing arts pathway CTE programs. One in the area of professional dance, where we're going to be offering 3 levels of dance, professional theater, and professional music in the area of instrumental and vocal. So we're looking to build a comprehensive arts program, performing arts program, and we're looking to build programs that will help students get into college, career, and industry in the area of performing arts.
Palm Desert, as you know, was the first school in the Coachella Valley to offer the AP Capstone Diploma program. We are currently in our 5th year and the program continues to grow.
One of the things we missed most about PDHS is the Ruckus Aztec Army and supporting our athletic teams. Our student section, along with our alumni and parent sections, has been voted one of the top in Southern California, and we cannot wait until it is safe to return. One item that has returned, although virtual this year, is the Riverside County Mock Trial Competition. This academic-based competition has given us something to look forward to each day other than only online classes.
Relationships with our friends and classmates have been very different this year. We have needed to connect via Zoom and social media instead of being face-to-face, making our cohorts more intentional and deliberate. Office hours gives us a wonderful opportunity during the school day to have workshops, study groups, and other interactions. Just another way that PDHS works to improve student lives.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Cabinet members, and Superintendent Bailey. It is a pleasure to be presenting to you tonight the amazing things happening at Palm Desert High School. I want to thank the board and cabinet for supporting the innovative programs Palm Desert implemented in the last year.
Mrs. Pierce, do you have any comments?
Very impressed with seeing all that's going on and how they've adjusted and modified the learning, for an online setting. It's just, I didn't know many of these things that were going on there, and I'm sure some of them may be going on at other schools too. So it was really good to see that level of student, 9 through 12, is really able to start to be in charge of their learning and really take responsibility and take part in it. So I was very impressed.
Mrs. Porras, do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you, Ethan, for that. That was an awesome presentation. And Mr. Zink, I know that you are so proud of your students. And I absolutely love the fact that you're going to be having the performing arts, kicking it up a notch with the dance and acting and, anyway, I just think that's awesome. So great presentation, great school. Go Aztecs.
Mrs. Jonathan.
Great job, Ethan. And again, congratulations, Mr. Zink. It's also good to see that you seem healthy and energetic. So that's always nice to see. I saw you walking across this, I believe you're right there in the auditorium right now. So it's good to see you. Congratulations. You've done a great job at academics. I know that you've been working hard on your academics and making sure that our students are successful. And it's always wonderful to see what you're doing in CTE. I have to give a shout out to Sarit Sag, who I've known since she was a little girl. So it was good seeing her, but more importantly, seeing what you're doing at Palm Desert High School. And you continue to do well because you're always all in for the Aztecs. So thank you.
Ms. Conover.
Thank you, Ethan, for that presentation. And Mr. Zink, it's good to see you. Good to see you doing well. I did get the opportunity last year to go to a couple of the theater presentations at Palm Desert High School. And so I am excited to see the level of, you guys are upping it up a notch with the new pathways there. So I'm excited to see what you guys can do, and thank you for the presentation.
So when you look at the improvement that the school has gone through, I think you deserve a really good pat on the back, and we appreciate all the hard work you're doing there. I know you take it very seriously. When I ride my bike early in the morning or at night, I see your car there often before school and after school. So appreciate the job you're doing. As a former math teacher, I really appreciate the fact that although we've had some difficult times this year, that the increase in your math scores, that's really an outstanding achievement considering the circumstances we've all gone through. So Ethan, congratulations to you. I know this has been a tough senior year for you, and I know you have missed out on quite a few things, but you've also got to experience some different things in being the leader of the school in the ether. And so good job, outstanding, great video. Mr. Bailey, do you have any comments?
I do. Mr. Zink, great to see you in the audience. Compliments to your leadership. Our hearts and thoughts go out to Danica and anyone else that was involved in the incident this evening. Chris, thank you for stepping up, and Ethan, great job, great school, PD all in. I do have a recognition plaque for Danica's service as a student board member, and Chris, I believe you'll do the honors in receiving that recognition for Danica this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll do the annual financial audit.
Riveting.
Riveting, yes.
Mr. Aquino.
Yes, good evening, board. Each year, the district is required by law to have its records examined by an independent certified public accountant. Our audited annual financial report is published by the district's independent auditor and is the final financial report to end the prior fiscal year. Tonight we have Mr. Scott Gustafson. He will be here via virtually. He is the CPA partner with Eide Bailly, and he will provide you with the information tonight regarding the completion of the district's 2019-20 year-end financial report. Mr. Gustafson.
Thank you, Jordan. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. I will keep it brief, as I know, I'm not typically the most exciting element on your agenda, but I'm happy to go over anything in detail if there's any questions or anything more than that. But really just to summarize the audit this year, outside of what everybody knows was a difficult time with COVID environment and being remote and all of that, which we really appreciate the help that we got from everybody at the district to be able to just even accomplish all of the work that's involved in that. On page 113, if you have that ability to reference, I will just kind of summarize the results of the audit, and really just a very good result this year, as has been typical in the past. We had unmodified opinions over the financial statements and the federal compliance areas and the state compliance areas that we review. We did not have any significant deficiencies, material weaknesses, or any elements of non-compliance or material audit adjustments that were required to be posted. In regards to the federal programs that were looked at this year, the two programs chosen were special education clusters, the federal monies related to special education, as well as the Head Start program. So as it pertains to those two programs, again, an unmodified opinion. We had no findings, no issues of non-compliance, and nothing to note there. So really, by and large, as I said before, a very clean audit when it comes to any findings or comments. You will see in the very back of the report some management letter comments, which are very typical. Those are related to the ASB test work that was performed, and so we did have some areas. Now, we refer to those as management letter comments because they don't rise to any level of significance to really be noted in a true audit report. But they are good for management to see and to consider, just sort of almost like a best practices. And so you'll notice some of those in the back, again, related to ASBs. Really outside of that, I'm happy to discuss anything at length, but I will keep my promise to keep it brief.
Mrs. Pierce, do you have any questions?
Looking at it for the first time, and I'm going over the summary, but it looks pretty good. I've never really reviewed one of these before, so and I noticed they do have a few comments at the very end that give recommendations, but no other comments. Thank you.
Mrs. Porras.
No, I have no comments. Thank you so much, Scott. That was a great report. Thank you.
Is this the next generation of Veritech time? Were they the previous guys? This name changed. Mrs. Jonathan.
No, thank you very much for the comprehensive report, Scott. And I know ASB is always a tricky thing. There always seems to be some little things that need to be tweaked when it comes to ASB. But I appreciate your great report, and we will take all the other items under advisement. But thank you.
Okay. Ms. Conover. I'm trying.
Thank you. Thank you for the report, and thank you for the recommendations. Hopefully we will take a look at those, and hopefully we will get them settled and we won't see those again next time. Thank you for the report.
This is Don Griffith. I don't really have any comments or questions. I just wanted to make sure this was the same guy we see once a year for the last couple of years. And your firm name changed, correct?
It did, yeah. So we merged in / were acquired by a larger firm called Eide Bailly. So all the same people, every single person that was with Bavernick Trine Day is with Eide Bailly. And so it's just really a name change more than anything.
Okay, because I was confused there because I was usually used to seeing you, but and then the name threw me off a little bit.
Yep, it's still me, it's still us.
All right, thank you. It's always a pleasure to get your reports. It is nice to have our independent audit. I'm assuming sometime during this year we'll have a little meeting just to go over some other things. And yep. Do you have any comments? Nope. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to the next item. Okay, we have no public hearing, so we'll move on to 15, discussion COVID-19 response. I'll turn that over to Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. Not a whole lot to update since we had that meeting last Thursday, I believe it was. Seems like just yesterday, a special board meeting. There is some good news, however, I'd like to share in forward-moving progress. So let's go back and anchor ourselves to the four-tier system, otherwise known as a blueprint for safer economy, state of California. Those metrics and those color codes obviously give us a guide to opportunities for in-person learning. Overall, we need to be in the red tier, or case rates of 7 or below per 100,000 residents to be allowed to come back to in-person learning per public health. Now I'm going to take us again back to the special meeting. There is recent legislation that was introduced by the governor under a proposal called Safe Schools for All. And under Safe Schools for All proposal, we could actually accelerate the return above and beyond the case rates of 7, or the red tier as we know it, if we meet a case rate under the proposed language of 25 per 100,000 or less, and it only applies to kindergarten through 6 in the state of California if the legislation would prevail. And unfortunately, if you're keeping track of the headlines, the governor's proposed language is meeting a strong headwind, for lack of a better term. So we have yet to see how this is going to evolve, assuming it evolves into something that gives us additional guidance for an acceleration and return to in-person learning. So right now, we're defaulting to the four-tier system, need to be at 7 or below per 100,000. The good news is we've been monitoring on a daily basis the case rates of Riverside County, because that again gives us the green light when we can bring students back if we meet certain thresholds. Just a few weeks ago, you may remember that the county was over 100 case rates per 100,000 residents. I think we even peaked somewhere around 122 post-holiday. We've been watching it actually ratchet down quickly. So today's rate is 62.3, which is down considerably even from last week. So that's favorable. We're moving in the right direction. 62.3 per 100,000. So that's where we are today. We await any direction from the legislation regarding additional accelerated opportunities. With that, I am going to have Cabinet do their updates. I'll start with Dr. Vollmer.
Good evening. I have just a few updates for you this evening. I want to start with an update on CIF and discuss really what it would mean if we were to allow our athletic teams to compete in athletics while adhering to the California Department of Public Health guidelines and the California Interscholastic Federation, or CIF, Return to Educational-Based Athletics Plan that's been put out and is updated really weekly as the numbers adjust and change, as Mr. Bailey was mentioning. So I want to give a little bit of an extended explanation of what that might look like if we were to allow that. So using season 1 as an example, which we are currently in, and season 1 extends from January till April under the new CIF plan. So in season 1, some of the sports that we field here in Desert Sands are competitive cheer, cross country, football, girls volleyball, and water polo. However, of those, only cross country is allowable in the purple tier. So you have to look at the colored tiers as well as which season you're in and compare those to see which sports would be allowable to compete. So for right now, it would just be cross country. So following the return to educational-based athletic plans, we would only have sports compete that are allowable under the current tier as we progress through those, hopefully, and those sports that are in the current season of play. There'll be a season 1 CIF and a season 2 CIF. Additionally, all of the competitions, if allowed, would follow the California Department of Public Health youth sports guidelines. So just to give you a little example of what that might look like to follow the youth sports guidelines, Desert Sands would really only be participating in league play. So I'll use the Desert Empire League as an example, because in that league we have Palm Desert High School, Shadow Hills High School, and La Quinta High School, along with Palm Springs High School, Xavier, and Rancho Mirage High School. So that's the league play that we would participate in. And if they were to host a cross-country competition, for example, it would look different based on the California Department of Public Health Youth Sports Guidelines. So instead of having a cross-country meet where all of those students show up and are all competing in a cross-country meet together, they would stagger the start times within a day of the event. So 2 teams might show up, say, at 11 o'clock, 2 more teams at 1 o'clock, 2 more teams at 3 o'clock, therefore distancing out the students and not having a large conglomeration, in one place all at once. So that's just an example of some of the precautions that would be followed. Obviously, we would follow all of them, but that's just one example. What you don't find in that return to play plan is an opportunity for sports that are eligible to play after their season has already ended. So for example, football isn't allowable until the orange tier, but that season ends in April. So hypothetically, what happens if we get into the orange tier, but it's not until May? What does that mean for those students that have missed that season, but then now are eligible to play? So we just want to bring forward that we are, to the extent practicable and to the extent that the board is comfortable, are committing to really examine many, many innovative ways of providing these students every opportunity that we can throughout the course of the year. So these solutions are still under consideration. Ed Services is working really closely with the high school athletic directors. We're looking through the CIF guidelines to see what's allowable, and we will be bringing forward at a later date some of those options for those students to be considered. Then in addition to CIF sports, I want to give you just a quick update on equipment. So we've been rolling out LFDs to our school sites. I've mentioned that. They've been delivered and rolled out to all of our middle schools, all of our high schools, and we're finishing up elementary. And along with that, the Director of Professional Development, Mike Kent, along with his team, are creating training opportunities, not only for the equipment, but also for participating in hybrid learning. So those plans will be in play and ready to go before we ever bring people back. Teachers and staff will be able to participate in those. And then additionally, all of the voice amplification systems have been delivered to all of the school sites, and the cameras that will be used in our middle schools and high schools during hybrid learning have been delivered to the sites as well. And that's my update.
Thank you. And LFD stands for large format display, correct? Yes, just like that. Okay, thank you.
Big TVs, right?
Yes. Interactive. Dr. Salazar.
A lot of jargon in education. So I don't have anything new to report beyond what I spoke about last Thursday, but I am happy to take the opportunity once again to share our delight in the positive collaboration we had with both of our employee associations over the district's COVID-19 safety plan. We met, we discussed, we consulted with both units, and they are in full agreement and support of that plan. And if and when the governor's Safe School for All plan is passed into legislation, then we would look forward to negotiate any changes that might be required at that time.
Thank you. And Mr. Aquino? Mrs. Fisher on deck.
By way of an update, I don't have too much from the last time we met on Thursday, but I do wanted to share with the board the recognition that was provided to our food services department. It was a proclamation by the city of Indio recognizing about our 70 child nutrition school or food services department employees as a School National Heroes Day. Now they, in addition to our patrol agents and security under Ed Nakua's direction and under Dan Capella's and food services, both the directors, have worked every single day since the start of the school closure. So I'm really glad that the city of Indio was able to recognize all the employees in food services, in addition to all of our patrol agents, including the 3 that are working tonight, Mr. Gerard, Jim Good, and Ryan Chandler. Thank you.
Mr. Aquino, remind me, was it 3 million meals served to students since we shut down in March?
3 million as of January. I think
Okay.
approximately 2 million of those were served in the city of Indio.
That's amazing. Those are hand-packed meals. So, good job. Okay, Mrs. Fisher, top that.
I don't know if I could top that. That's really good. As Mr. Bailey was talking about, and we all are saying our reports are pretty short because we just met last week. But as we discussed and reviewed and the board approved our COVID-19 safety plan, I submitted it on Friday. And the process at this point, you submit it to Riverside County Public Health, California Department of Public Health, and Riverside County Office of Education. And if we don't hear anything from Dr. Kaiser within 7 days, is what they're saying, that it's considered approved. But of course, I keep calling because I'd like to know earlier. I was hoping to know tonight. But we did complete, I did add to the appendix all the samples of notification letters when I submitted it, so that way any community, parent, staff member can actually see all the different types of notification letters, whether it be for an employee, or if there's a potential school closure, that kind of thing. So everyone can see the types of notifications that would be provided. But we are anxiously awaiting that. The plan is posted on the website for everyone to be able to see. So as soon as we have that official approval, that will be on there too. And again, we're just waiting, as Mr. Bailey explained, you know, whether the governor's plan at this point, whatever it may look like, if at all, we wanted to make sure that Desert Sands was prepared and had everything in place. So that was done as of Friday. An update on our vaccine clinic in partnership with Desert Oasis Healthcare for all our district employees and active substitutes. We met with the team last week. The location site has been determined to be La Quinta High School. It's very centralized so that staff can get there easily. Now we have completed the registration and we had 1,958 employees registered, which is a really great thing to see. And soon they'll be receiving a link that they'll be able to access to put in their information and register with Desert Oasis. And then as soon as, like everybody else is waiting, as soon as we have the vaccine supplies, we're still tentatively looking at later this month and crossing our fingers it'll work. As soon as we get the supplies, then we have the date set to start our vaccination clinic for Desert Sands employees. So that's exciting. It's been great working with Desert Oasis. Speaking of updated COVID numbers, it's really nice to see, as Mr. Bailey was talking about, the case rates have gone down. So has our number of employees testing positive. Of course, we would love to have no employees in this number, but since the last board meeting, we've only had a little over 32 employees test positive. And compared to earlier this year, like I was saying on Thursday after Thanksgiving, there was that huge surge. We really haven't seen it after winter break. And that's really been good to see. So it's kind of leveling off. Like I said, every case I would rather not see, but it's good to see the numbers going down. We're also working with the testing task force, California's testing task force. In the event, like I said, we're following everything in the governor's plan as it was presented to us. We need to make sure that we're able to test all staff and students when they come back. If we're still in this 25 and under tier, we would need to be testing all students and staff every week. So I attend the meetings weekly on how we're setting that up, and we are going to do a pilot run with just DEC staff to see how it works, because I really don't want to start my first pilot run with children. I want to see how it's going to run with adults first. And then we have contracts coming to help with staff that will be helping with the testing sites. So I wanted to end with February 1st through the 5th is National School Counseling Week. And I just wanted to let all our counselors know how much we appreciate them and the impact they have on so many lives. Site counselors, our SAP counselors, our mental health staff have truly made and continue to make a difference during this pandemic. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. I just want to add, I thank the board for coming together on a short notice for that meeting last week. As you know, under the proposed language, that school safety plan and about 12 other criteria were required of us to submit our plan. And all I can say is I appreciate the board taking a swift action so that we're ready should opportunity come. So thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to public comment. I'll turn that over to Anna Conover.
Thank you. I'll be reading the online comments. Okay, the first one is from Michelle Montenegro. Our kids need to go back to school. Please fight for them. Their mental health has been damaged by this pandemic. Let's not damage them further. The second one is from Hector Rodriguez. Please open up our schools, please. Third is from Leslie Cantor. Enough is enough. Quit with the blame game. Quit ignoring us, parents and teachers that want the kids back in the classroom. Not okay to blame other people for your shortcomings. You need to call and email Sacramento because that is who you are blaming it on now. As our board members, what have you done on our behalf at the state level? Every other state is starting to reopen. Why are you letting the unions control you? You have been given millions of dollars to prepare the schools. Now that you have, open them up and get the kids back in the classroom. Our children are not being educated. Zoom is a joke. Going to class for 10 minutes and being dismissed with homework is not teaching my child. It's proven over and over again schools are not super spreaders. There are vaccines now, which was your first excuse, not until a vaccine. Well, now we have it. If a teacher doesn't want the vaccine and doesn't want to go back to school, then they shouldn't be teaching our children. We don't want them. When are you going to start protecting our children? You continue to get your six-figure salaries no matter what. Yet as time goes on, you show us how you don't care about these kids. Their lack of education, their mental health, the list continues. They're not even allowed to go out on a field in the open air and play sports. Let them play. If the teachers don't come back, they are replaceable. Pretty simple. Tons of young people out there wanting their jobs. If they have health that is compromised, then do reverse Zoom so the kids can be in the classroom. Otherwise, they are essential and should be back. Quit pushing our letters under the rug and not responding. Hear me, hear us. Open our schools, fight for our kids. You owe them this. Number 4 is from Christine Lanson. Good evening, board members. I'm writing to you again regarding school reopening. We now have one student in DSUSD, one in a non-DSUSD homeschool program. We removed our junior because being online all day and then all evening doing homework had her in constant anxiety. It was the best thing we did. She has a job where they do health checks and temperature checks, and she is able to interact with people. She thinks it is ridiculous that all these teenagers are working in the public, yet schools are closed. I listened to the last board meeting and how some have said your hands are tied. It's Sacramento or the governor. So what are you doing exactly to untie your hands? Are you calling or emailing Sacramento? Are you speaking on behalf of the students in DSUSD? Our mission, to inspire and nurture every student one opportunity at a time. Our vision, we will be the district of choice to successfully prepare every student for college, career, and life. These are your mission and vision statements. It must be frustrating knowing you cannot fulfill these statements for many students. Last week, Governor Newsom called on schools to be honest with parents and tell them if you have no intention of opening schools this school year. Please be honest with us. Sincerely, Kristen Lanson. The next one is from Chelsea Wilson. Thank you for reading my comment. I have 2 children in elementary school here. I am writing to implore you to begin the process of phasing in hybrid learning, particularly with our younger students, immediately. As a new parent to the district, though I grew up here, I was extremely disheartened to learn the board had decided not to bother with applying for the K-2 waiver. I recently moved back here from LA County and frankly thought my kids would be closer to hybrid learning in Desert Sands than they were in our old district. Not only is our old district beginning to phase the general population back in, they certainly bothered to apply for the waiver, though case counts are much worse there. My kids are suffering greatly. This pandemic turned their lives upside down emotionally, and they simply cannot learn in front of a screen to even a quarter of the capacity as they did in person. This morning I read a verified report that 7 other states have begun to implement a voucher system where students will gain access to their per-pupil funding directly in order to utilize it at private schools. I have always supported public education, teachers, and our local schools. However, if you do not take advantage of the federal and state funding that has been allocated to schools who reopen and of having been put among the first to get vaccinated, many of us as parents have no choice but to look for alternative education. As a parent, I am willing to make many accommodations. I will have my children tested regularly, wear appropriate PPE, stagger the days and hours they attend school, sign waivers that allow transparency if we are exposed, and even move them to an alternative site. Please join me and the other parents who want their kids back in school rather than opposing us. Let's get creative, brainstorm new ways to reopen safely now, and create a task force for allocating funding, testing resources, and speed up teacher and staff vaccinations. Thank you. The next one is from Deborah Trudeau. In previous board meetings, it was discussed, brought before the public, and voted to reopen the schools when we reach the safe tier. We have prepared for it, and we are now in that tier. There is no reason not to go ahead with those plans. I know everyone could pull up data that varies on state-to-state results of schools reopening, but I have spent time looking at legitimate sites. Yes, of course, there are isolated incidences of outbreaks, but the majority of schools there are not. Hybrid systems are being used all over our country successfully. This is my third and last child in this district, and would most definitely consider pulling her if the intention is not to go back. Teachers really should be like every other job that had to go back to work. I don't understand what the difference is. I speak as a nurse and a teacher. I have been back in the classroom, lab, since June. I do not have the luxury of even being 6 feet apart as I am teaching nursing skills. With our safety protocols, PPEs, we have not had an outbreak. Regardless, as a teacher, I didn't think twice about going back for my students. It is our responsibility. Just like other essential workers, we do what needs to be done. Number 7 is from Stacy Santiago Alvarez. Hello, board. My children stayed very late to complete assignments because the due date is midnight. Why do teachers do that? Teachers assign homework over the weekends and then they go to class and it was a mistake by the teacher. Teachers wait until the last day to tell the grades. This is very hard on my children and very unfair. I think they have good teachers if they were in classes together, but the workload is too much. Why? Also, my son is in band and football. Please support the sports and extra programs. My kids are sad and need it. We have worked the whole time and it is time for kids to be back. And number 8 is from Kristen Massey. The role of a school board is defined specifically as such. Chosen solely to represent the interests of school children, board members also have a responsibility to speak out on behalf of those children. Board members are advocates for students. Having followed DSUSD's response over the past 10 months, I have nothing even remotely resembling this. It has become painfully clear that DSTA rules the roost. DSUSD bows to their bidding, and nobody but parents advocates for the kids. I think maybe my children need a union because nobody is speaking for them. I work in accounting, and if I refuse to do my job, I wouldn't have one. I have friends who are physicians who have had to put their careers on hold because of distance learning. Frontline workers leaving their jobs because teachers won't do theirs. And nobody to say, hey, science says it's safe. Let's get back to the purpose of education, school. Let me be clear. My family is gone. My role in this meeting is one of a community member. We were a very active, supportive family. PTO, classroom, and field trip volunteers, active fundraisers. Now we're gone. We gave up. Our kids are in a school where their needs are the priority, and we have to pay handsomely for it, but it's worth it. Too bad DSUSD has helped fashion a society in which only those who can afford it can have an education. You say you're advocates of equity? What a joke. I sincerely hope that this board, despite its obvious conflicts of interest, finds the courage and integrity to do the right thing, to put the needs of the kids first. The purpose of school is to educate children, not employ teachers. I'm sorry we don't seem to agree on that. I wonder how many more children will be casualties of this conflict. And that's all for the online comments.
About the blue slip over there?
Yep, you can submit it over here. Thank you.
Communications from the floor. In accordance with bylaws of the Board 9323, time is reserved for oral communications by members of the Board of Education or by citizens present.
No.
Citizens wishing to be heard on agenda items shall have a 3-minute limit and should indicate their intention at this time. In accordance with the law, decisions of the board cannot be made on any matter not previously published before the board meeting, as indicated in bylaws of the board 9323.2.
I did. Okay. Hello.
Then you're in stack, I'll be calling them by names. Yeah.
Wait to be called.
They will call me. Yes. I forgot.
No worries, thank you. Okay, I have Nicholas Rose.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and members of cabinet. I'm here tonight to share some kudos regarding the Desert Sands classified employees. As Mr. Aquino just mentioned, the award from the City of Indio that our nutrition services employees received is awesome. So I wanted to take this time to also give a shout out and say kudos to all of the classified employees who made that happen. Within our bargaining unit, we have around 160 classified employees in nutrition services. That number includes nutrition services assistants, specialists, central kitchen staff, site operators, warehouse delivery drivers, and office support staff. After asking the nutrition services director, Dan Capella, if he had any specific information that he wanted to share, he sent me the following. As of February, nutrition services had served approximately 3 million meals. Meals are packaged in 3- and 4-day bundles, so 2 days of grab and go provides 7 days of meals. This process has been an entirely new way to serve our students, and the nutrition services specialists and site operators have had to create distribution plans on the fly to meet the needs of their individual schools, as each site is unique. Mr. Capella also wanted to express his appreciation because these classified employees have been handing out meals during the summer heat, in the cold and rain, when typically meal service is done indoors in the cafeteria. He expressed how none of the nutrition services workers have complained once because they all understand how important these meals are to the communities we serve. He also wanted to highlight the week of December 14th and the fact that the nutrition services staff served close to 100,000 meals in that 1 week alone. When I asked him if there were any individual employees he wanted to give a shout out to, he told me that he didn't feel comfortable singling anyone out because, and I quote, "they have all been heroes." I think we can all agree, and the City of Indio did as well, that the Grab and Go Meals program has been incredible for our students and their families during these past 11 months. Thank you to all the hardworking nutrition services classified employees who have contributed to the program's success. And then I did also want to highlight and echo Dr. Salazar in appreciating the work that the district administration put in when they created the COVID-19 safety plan. I'm proud that we were able to work together in the negotiations room to take this step forward toward reopening our schools and making Desert Sands a safe place for our students. I look forward to working with district administration and ensuring Desert Sands is the workplace we expect it to be, a workplace that has high standards of excellence, a workplace where heroes feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Ivana Colburn. It's okay.
Hello. There are two types of Americas. The first one belongs to the private sector and the second one belongs to the bureaucrat.
Can you speak to the microphone?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There are two types of Americas. The first one belongs to the private sector, and the second one belongs to the bureaucrats/public sector. Teacher unions are acting in favor of teachers, telling them lies about already studied scientific data regarding coronavirus. Latest data demonstrates that communities with open school do not rise COVID cases, hospitalization, or death rates. We're also vaccinating the most vulnerable so they can be protected. It seems our hospitalization and death will continue to decrease even with the rising cases, because early intervention at home with oxygen, breathing treatments, and Regeneron. Now teachers have the opportunity to get vaccinated. As a parent, I do not see any logical reason for not returning to school. Our kids are suffering. Real data says that are not learning important building blocks that only school, being in a social environment, can teach. I'm not talking about only neurotypical children. I'm talking about the forgotten community of autistic children who need social interaction longer than 2.5 hours a day with not only 3 kids in the classroom, but a variety of students. My kid is missing learning opportunities that are imperative for his growth. Why focusing on adults, who, by the way, are not spending their entire time at home, who have families and friends, who go to the grocery store, touch everything, touch every item probably already being touched by the other people, paying with cash or credit card on contaminated areas, risking their life to feed their family, but somehow school environment is too dangerous, a real threat to their life even after vaccination. Usually, if it doesn't make sense, you guys, it does not make sense. Please stop hiding behind your unions. Our kids are in distress, are hurting. They are looking up at us to make the difference. We have endured almost a full year of shutdown. We cannot afford any more kids committing suicide, any more abuse, very little learning. We are creating a generation of confused people without direction. We are the example. Are you willing to give a good example by teaching in person? If not, you should give the opportunity to other teachers to take your place and teach. Kids first or union first. The private sector will never act like this because the consequences will be too devastating for the business. Please join us parents who says no to school unions, which are hurting your credibility and putting a layer of embarrassment as you as a whole. It's important to live life safely, but allow common sense to prevail. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Susan Partner, who is giving 3 minutes to Tabitha Rodriguez. So, Ms. Rodriguez, you're up.
Hello, my name is Tabitha Rodriguez. I've been with the district for about 10 years. I provided an attachment for you. The reason I'm here is if you would please consider not to approve my medical separation. I need more time. I have a telemedicine exam on Monday, February 8th with Dr. Harris. Albert Pimentel of Risk Management went against the approval and understanding to accommodate me to work from home at the accommodations meeting via Zoom on Monday, January 25th. It was approved that the district would accommodate me to work from home via Zoom starting Tuesday, January 26th. It was approved by Chad Wood, Personnel Director, Michael Williams, Principal Carter Elementary, and Charity Plaxton Hennings. She's the Senior Director of Special Ed. I just hope that the board will uphold the decision made by Chad and the principal to accommodate me and allow me to work from home. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is Ursula Legula.
Good evening. I might not be favored to say this, but I have to say it on my own personal experience. I'd like to call your attention to positivity. As we all are aware, we are currently in a pandemic which has caused many hardships for everyone. School district staff and various locations and here at Desert Sands have rallied to do their very best to support students via distant learning platforms. I would like to share my personal positive experience with my special education class. That is a testament that distance learning is working. 1, my class recently participated in the annual science fair via Zoom, which I hope the slides were shared with you, the board. It was different, but the students were focused and were very excited. Some of my students wore gloves, goggles to represent scientists, and some worked on a physical science board. The reason for this example is time after time I hear how distance learning isn't working. I completely understand there are challenges, but why not focus on the positive and share examples of students learning and being successful via distance learning? I want to thank every parent and person who supports our students, because without them, this positive example would not be possible. Thank you to my teacher, Ms. Patty Herrera, for treating me as an equal, and my principal, Dr. Daniel Martinez, for appreciating the work everybody does daily for our Roosevelt Rams. Thank you for your time, and let's spread positivity and let's focus on success.
Thank you. And next is Trina Gonzalez-Alisi.
Good evening, Board and Cabinet. My comments this evening are going to echo a lot of what Ms. Laguillo just shared. It was pointed out earlier that this is National Counselors Week. The counselors in our district do an amazing job. It is also CTE month, and we have incredible programs at all of our different high schools that offer a variety of possibilities for students to be able to explore and to be able to discover new talents and interests that they might have. So I want to send a special shout out to all of our counselors at all the sites at DEC North, as well as our CTE teachers. And then I just want to point out also the accolades that were shared earlier this evening by our Public Information Officer, Mary Perry, listed some students who had been recognized for their artwork, poetry samples, and then several schools that had just recently been recognized to win awards. And so if we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of distance learning, which I recognize, I think it's important to note that successes are still happening, that there is still learning going on. It's very different than it was before, and it is not without its challenges. But if our district and our school sites and our individual students are able to still make these accomplishments under these circumstances, then it can't all be wrong. It can't all be horrible. There are successes that are happening. The accolades, the accomplishments, the recognitions at the school sites to individual students, all of those students and the school sites are made up of staff, educators and support staff that allow them to be able to make those accomplishments. A school site by itself is just, it's not a living being thing. It's made up of people. And it's the people that make it work, and it's the people who go above and beyond to even enter into competitions, to even send in applications to be recognized for different accomplishments. It takes people to be able to do that. That is still happening in Desert Sands, regardless of the situation that we're facing right now. So I share the sentiment of Ms. Laguillo, who just shared. We do need to have some more focus on positive. It's not perfect. Nobody even wants this. Everybody would love to go back to the classroom, but there is positive things happening and there are accomplishments happening. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is all the comments from the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Conover. Now we'll move to board and superintendent comments.
I'm sorry, did we have one more?
Oh, do we have one more? We don't have one more.
Thank you. I could read your body language. We'll call you.
Turning the meeting back over to Ms. Conover.
And Catherine Silvera.
First off, thank you for your time and patience. I'm doing this a little impromptu, so my stutter might expose itself, so thank you for your patience. But good afternoon. I'm scared for our future, for our public education system in general, nationally and locally. Parents, community members, past and current board members, all have been tearing down this public education system literally brick by brick. They are villainizing the system itself and the people who are involved in the system. For years before this pandemic, teachers, community members, parents have stood together and told you and nationally the public education system how our facilities are falling apart, how the inequities between the privileged and the not are growing. Our knowledge gap is growing, and we needed policy change, and we needed money for our infrastructure to be modernized. Well, then the pandemic happened, and all of a sudden, schools became essential. We have been told by many in our community and nationally that staff members and teachers, everyone should be risking their lives because of how essential we are. Except where were their voices before? Where was this policy before the pandemic? We have, so unfortunately I'm scared because after the pandemic, these voices will have two options: to die down and we become back to normal, where the inequity is growing and our facilities are dilapidated, or these voices will continue and our public education system is gone. So what I ask from you guys, from the board members and for our district staff members, is to not let these voices win in the future. Whenever you hear a teacher being, whenever you hear a teacher being villainized, you should stand behind them. Whenever you hear or see policy that will take money away from our system and away from our schools, you should stand behind
Ms. Silvera,
this.
excuse me. We
Need to be quiet.
do. I'm sorry, but you had your time and nobody interrupted you. So please offer her the same courtesy. Please. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you for standing behind me, and I wish that you would stand behind your staff members and your teachers and their unions who are protecting them as much as you just stood behind me. So again, I just hope that in the future, past the pandemic, you stand for the system that you are voted for and hired for to represent. So again, thank you for your time, and thank you for getting me back up here. Have a good night.
Thank you. And that is all the communications from the floor.
Okay, for real. So now we'll go to board and superintendent comments. We'll start off with Mrs. Pierce. You're always going to be first.
I know. I appreciate the COVID-19 response updates. I know we just had it last Thursday, but to see that all different equipment from Mr. Aquino and Dr. May Vollmer have been to the schools and are finally all here based on, being received and installed and everything. I appreciate the school safe plan that has been sent off by Mrs. Fisher, sorry about that, Mrs. Fisher, so that we would be placed and able to, by some miracles, if our numbers keep dropping like they have been, it would be a wonderful thing to be able to implement it based on what the legislature does, whether we get to do the 25 per 100,000 or the 7 per 100,000. But knowing that we are in place to do that, I do want to say that all we can do at this point is to look forward. We cannot look back to October, to that small window, when there's no huge district in California that even went for a waiver. Only small private schools did that, and that was just a non-issue. And it wouldn't have, worked for us. We didn't have any of the equipment. I do believe that our district and the unions are working hard to make it safe for everybody, and I appreciate that. One concern is, and I do appreciate what Dr. Vollmer said about the sports. I know, it sounds like here January's over, and the seasons are left. I didn't even know if there's possibility that sports could conduct practice type games as sort of practice in being practiced or not, even if they weren't in that tier. I don't even know if that's possible. But anything to get the kids that are in the different sports, you know, able to do anything. And I appreciate them being creative and trying to look for ways to let that happen within our own leagues here in the Valley, because I know that's so important to the kids. I didn't realize that the vaccines for teachers would still be the end of February, it sounds like, really, before it happens. And I had several people email me and say, I've heard there's only 400 going to be coming and we have like over 1,000 people, but I'm assuming that when you say there's 1,900, they're going to earmark that for all those employees.
It's both the first and second dose.
They'll have enough for everybody that signed up, which is a really good thing. So I'm looking forward to that, as well as I hear what the parents are saying, but we can't just keep beating a dead horse as far as wanting people to write to Sacramento. I personally have, you know, and it's all in the legislature's hands, and they say there's blaming going on, but it's the way the politics works, and it's all up in their hands, and we're doing what we can. And I think the teachers and support staff and district have been working really hard to try to make it the best it can be, and it doesn't work for a number of kids. And I really, in my heart as a teacher, I feel really bad for those students and the parents and everything that's being impacted. But I'm hoping, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, I'm hoping for better things to come and some changes to be made, you know, maybe in the next month. So just trying to stay positive, as people said, because that's the only way to get through something like this. So thank you.
Mrs. Porras.
Yes, thank you. Again, I'd like to congratulate Dan Capello and Nutrition Services and all of his staff with their recognition from the City of Indio. I think that's so awesome because, like they said, they have not taken any days off, as our cabinet and superintendent, same thing. I mean, everybody has been working so hard, and we appreciate all that you've been doing all of this time. And security, keeping our school sites secure, and everybody's just doing excellent work, and we really do appreciate all that you do. Another thing I'd like to say is for the National Counselors Week, we really do appreciate our counselors and helping our students really cope with all of the different things that they're having to go through with COVID and online learning. And we really do appreciate all that they do to help them to cope with this. And lastly, I just want to recognize Mary Perry for her article that she wrote in Desert Sun. My dad called me and said, you have to talk about Mary Perry. Anyway, she just does such an awesome job with keeping everybody updated on our district. And I just want to commend her for doing excellent work all the time. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Jonathan.
I remember when Linda was president and she would listen to everybody and then she would say, ditto everything everybody said. And I kind of feel that same way. I mean, I want to commend the district for moving forward and making sure that they're a site for vaccines. I think everybody's kind of watching the paper and the news, and all of a sudden there's a possibility that people won't get their second shot, and the second shot may be given out 42 days instead of 28 days or 21 days. So our district has been proactive and making sure that when they get the vaccines, that they have the vaccines for both the first and second, and I want to commend them for doing that. I'm so impressed with that. As it's already been stated, nutritional services, I can't begin to say enough thanks for what you've done for our students, for our community, because we all know that those meals have made some of those families would not be able to survive if it wasn't for getting those meals. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, thank you to all the staff and the teachers. But specifically, I do want to recognize and say again, thank you to the superintendent and cabinet, because they have worked so hard, and it's not to discount the work that anybody else has done, but the level of work and that has been on their plate has been astronomical, even to the point of making sure that this plan was submitted by before the 1st of February, approved before the 1st of February, and sent on. And there was very short notice of all this, even though we had been planning on this and working diligently to try to make sure that when we get our students back, that we have a safe environment for everybody. So again, thank you. I cannot express how important it is, what you've done for our district, and how appreciated you are. So again, thank you so much.
Ms. Conover.
Thank you. I did have a question on the notification process. So for example, if an employee tests positive for COVID-19 and they call HR or whoever it is they're supposed to call and report that they tested positive, the process after that is, I know they do the contact tracing and all that, and it's a specific amount of time if you've been around them for 15 minutes within a 6 feet, a whole formula there. But do the other staff at the site, whether they were around that person or not, do they get notified that, hey, just a heads up, somebody here tested positive because we use the same facilities, we use the same, Xerox machine? I just want to know if the whole staff is notified or just those specific people.
Yes. So we have 3 different letters. The first one is the general notification, and that was updated as of January 1 to ensure it meets all the Cal OSHA requirements. And so that letter would be the one that would go out to either the school side or department that basically says just what you said, that there was a positive within particular school or whatever department it is. And it also includes, though, that if you were deemed a close contact, you'll be receiving an individual letter that would come just to you. So that would certainly be so that everyone would know, but they wouldn't necessarily have to be concerned that they were deemed a close contact. But that is the notification that all employees at that site or department would receive.
These go out as emails or actual physical?
It depends on the department. They're sent to the supervisor. So when you were saying if someone does test positive, the next step is for them to report it to their supervisor. And then all the supervisors know the protocol on who they email, and we call it the COVID-6 at this point, because there's 6 of us representing personnel and student services. And they would email us with that information, and like the last day they were at the site, what day they got tested, all of that information is important for our nurses to follow up with them, because they also get a letter, with resources from our nurses and their, approximate return to work date with that criteria. And then they go through a conversation with our registered nurses to determine who would be deemed a close contact. And then those people are notified. But the general notification letter per Cal OSHA must be sent out within 24 hours. So that goes out to everyone. But sometimes it takes a little longer, hopefully within 24 to 48 hours, to determine the close contact. So it all goes out pretty quickly, but the general notification certainly goes out within that first 24 hours.
Okay. Thank you. And I do want to, I agree with the City of Indio. They just called it just like it is. Our staff is amazing. And I did appreciate, Mr. Rose, how you didn't signal anybody out. You just said it was a team effort. Thank you for that. It's amazing. And that's a lot of meals. And yeah, that's all I have today. Thank you.
I find it difficult to kind of address the crowd today because I'm going to say things that don't line up and don't make sense, which I don't like to do. I do think we could do a better job as a district in pairing up the teachers that want to go back to work with the students that want to go back to work. And I think that we have one side, but there's also another side of that. And those people that want to go back to work need to also work with their representatives to have them come to the table and work with us, because we cannot go around the union and say we're going back to work. And I just want to give everybody the opportunity to do what they want. I know half of the people don't want to come back, and I know half the people really do. And I think we could do a better job of putting the people that want to come back. Now, having said that, over the last 20 years, mostly prior 8, I had the opportunity to coach baseball, youth baseball and youth soccer in the Coachella Valley. And one of the guys I constantly ended up coaching against is Paul Thompson, who was Nutrition Services. And Paul Thompson, there's been some articles in the paper. I know he's passed from COVID. He was a Nutrition Services employee of ours. Spent a lot of time in Palm Desert. If you knew Paul Thompson, or sorry, if you knew Mr. Thompson, I'm getting him confused with Indio's old head coach. If you knew him, you knew that every time you see him, he had a Palm Desert baseball hat on. He coached soccer teams for children, and he didn't have any children playing soccer. He drove the bus. There was a really great article about one of our famous musicians in the Valley that he mentored who didn't have a father. So having him pass away from COVID, you know that it's real, because I know he'll never be out on those fields again. And I rode my bike through Palm Desert Park this weekend, and I could picture him in my mind standing on those fields and coaching those kids and giving of himself. And he was selfless. And he passed away from COVID, and he was working. And so I know that reality exists. And and I want schools to open, but people need to realize that people are dying from this. Some people want to come back and some people don't, and we can't please everybody all the time. And we do our best, and we sit up here and we listen to what you have to say, and we take it to heart, and certain things you say to us stay with you, and it makes you not be able to go to sleep at night, because we know students want to go back, and we want them to go back, and it's not up to us for them to go back. So I hear what you're saying, and I feel powerless. And I can't just do it. And if it was up to me, I would just try to get those together that want to be out there and get together. And I think we could do a better job of that. So Mr. Bailey, what are your comments?
No further comments other than I got an update that Danica's okay. So that's great news.
Okay, seeing no further comments, we will move on to general function items. First one is general function business services, which is the adoption of a resolution. So is there a motion to approve the resolution 17, 2020, 2021 to apply for and secure grants for funding for South Coast Air Quality Management to purchase low-emission school buses? Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved by Anna Conover.
Second, Patricia Pierce.
Is there any discussion on that issue?
I think this the one where they're just upgrading 2 buses at $20,000 each, or is this purchasing brand new ones or something?
It's an application to get the subsidy, so we could ultimately, our contribution would be $20,000 each.
Yeah.
Funds to offset the expense of the replacement.
Yeah, it was a lot more than that, but they were putting in the grant or something. Okay.
Any other discussion or questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, this is a roll call vote. Tricia Pierce?
Aye.
Linda Forrest?
Aye.
Wendy Jonathan?
Aye.
Anna Conover?
Aye.
And Donald Griffith says aye, so that carries 5-0. Next, we have general function educational services. There are 17 items, 19.1 to 19.7. Is there a motion to take these as a group or individually or partially as a group?
We take general functions 19.1 to 19.7 as a group.
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, sounds like it was 4-1. Wendy, was that aye, yes, or aye, no?
I said aye to aye, but I did not hear anybody use saying the motion.
Okay.
So I think that everybody has to turn off their volume, so I couldn't hear that. So I said aye when I thought it was supposed to.
Okay, so with that clarification, that's 5-0. Okay, moving on to general function, section 20. There are 6 items in this. Is there a motion to approve 20.1 to 20.6 as a group, or we'd like to take these individually?
I don't have the whole page in front of me. How many were there? 20.1? Okay. I move to make a motion to approve 20.1 and 20.2, the 2 memorandums of understanding for sick leave with the 2 unions.
Second, to approve 20.1 and 20.2.
Second by Anna Conover. I just want to make a comment. So on these, normally it expired in December, correct? And we as a district are extending it till March.
Federal.
Yes, we're extending the sick leave provisions, not the expanded FMLA part, but just the sick leave, the 80 hours if it hasn't been used or a balance is
80
left.
hours,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of passing 20.1 and 20.2 say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. Is there a motion to approve 20.3 to 20.6 or any portion of those?
I move we take 20.3 to 20.6 as a group.
Is there a second?
Second, Linda Porras.
Seconded by Linda Porras. Is there any discussion on any of these 4 items? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, 20.3 to 20.6 carries 5-0. General function student support services. Is there 3 of these? Yes, there is. 21.1 to 21.3. Is there a motion to take these either individually or as a group? But it's not a resolution.
I make a motion to approve 20.1 to 21.3. As a group. 21.1 to 21.3. Did I say it incorrectly? I'm sorry.
So there's a motion to take 21.1 to 21.3 as a group by Tricia Pierce. Is there a second?
Second, Anna Conover.
Discussion on this?
I did have a question on the TB testing, and again, I don't have it in front of me. It's on my phone. But it was about, it said, it was changing the language. Do you have it in front of you? It was changing the language from if it was indicating it's just the TB testing.
Doubly suspected, is that what you were looking at?
It was, okay. And necessary to comply with the changes. What it was saying was to develop an updated comprehensive plan, taking these acts to control the spread. Adds language. No, wait. Oh, one of the questions was it removes the requirement that students who have been identified as having an infectious disease must have medical approval from treating physician to attend school. We're taking that away, that they'd have to have a doctor's note to return. Because why? Normally if that was in our policy before, and now we're taking it out that a doctor would say that for this is just for TB or any infectious disease. This is just for TB. No, this is the infectious disease one. I think you pulled the wrong one.
There's 21.2.
I'm sorry.
That's right,
It's
there's two
further up.
different-
She gave me the infectious one. That's okay. It said this one. The additions are as follows. Clarifies that any student who is reasonably suspected of having tuberculosis shall be excluded from school until evidence in the form of a certificate showing that they are free. An affidavit that indicating exams for TB are contrary to their personal beliefs. Okay, stipulates the conditions under which a student has not provided a certificate may be admitted to school. Oh, it says the reason that a student can who has not provided, like having a chest x-ray within 20 school days after admission, that they would have to complete another certificate indicating that the student is free. There was something there that I didn't like. The deletion changes the language, which states that a student who is found to have tuberculosis to reasonably suspected of having tuberculosis.
As a reason to exclude them. In the past, if we had a student that had the symptoms and, the nurse, public health had deemed him to be reasonably suspected of having TB, until we got the actual proof, we were not able to exclude the child. Now we can.
Okay, so
Yes.
I must have read it, so that
That's
is
okay.
actually better.
Yes.
And then they would have to get a chest x-ray if they weren't against that type of thing to be able to come back to school.
Right. Well, there's many people, once you have tested positive, doesn't mean you've had TB, but once you've been exposed, your TB test will always be positive.
Right.
So many people have to have that follow-up chest x-ray to be able to show.
Say that
But
it's
this is
not
if a child
active.
with symptoms, that are symptomatic, we can exclude them right when they have reasonable, we have reasonable suspicion of the TB instead of having to wait for a positive test.
Okay,
Yeah.
then it was better. Okay, I misunderstood. And I
Sure.
apologize for not being prepared on that line.
Any other discussion? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, that carries 5-0. General function, superintendent, none. Services, there are 8 items under business services consent, 24.1 to 24.8. Is there a motion to take these together or individually?
I move we take 24.1 to 24.8 consent items, business services as a group.
Is there a second to take this as a group?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Discussion on any of these 8 items?
I have a quick question, and this is probably to Jordan Aquino, I think, or maybe Mr. Bailey. I know we were having that group collecting some items from the boneyard for students that might need desks and other things for their home. Have we, as far as discarding any things,
It looked like the list, when I looked it over, was mainly electronics and computer devices, unless I looked at the wrong list. I too thought the same thing, Wendy, is I hope there's nothing good out there that could be used by somebody, because I've looked
right,
through
we
this.
had a group that was actually sending, taking them to people. So I'm just wondering if we've reached out to them and said, is there anything that they want to use to bring over to some of the people that, some of the students that don't have materials or and furniture, things like that at home. So have we gone through that group as well?
Yeah, this is Jordan. We review that list to see what's out there that could potentially be repurposed. The last time with the desks, we were able to coordinate with the staff and some of the families that were able to benefit from that during the last go-around. But this surplus doesn't have any of those desks listed on it, if I recall. I'd have to look at the detail of it. If I remember correctly, most of it was old electronics and I think the portables that would be demolished.
Any other questions? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That carries 5-0. Okay, consent items, educational services. Looks like we have 4 items, 25.1 to 25.4. Is there a motion to take these as a group or individually?
Make a motion to take item 25.1 to 25.4 together as a group.
Is there a second?
Second, Anna Conover.
Seconded by Anna. Is there any discussion on any of these 4 items? Okay, hearing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That carries 5-0. There are no personnel services consent items. Student support services, we have 3 items, 27.1 to 27.3. Is there a motion to take these as a group or individually?
I move we take consent items 27.1 to 27.3 as a group.
Second?
I'll second that. Tricia Pierce.
Here's any discussion on any of these 3 items?
Let's see, we're using DocuSign. Everyone's using it, so makes getting documents much easier and much quicker.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That carries 5-0. Consent items, Superintendent? None. Okay, Dr. Salazar, do you have some blind items to fill in on 29?
For 29.1, there are 3 agenda items. Agenda item number 6, personnel is pleased to recommend the appointment of Dr. Ashley Shantz to the position of Assistant Principal at La Quinta High School. For item number 7, personnel is pleased to recommend the appointment of Carrie Geis to the position of School Psychologist. And for agenda item number 8, personnel is pleased to recommend the appointment of Laura Gomez to the position of School Psychologist, a 50% contract.
Okay, with those added information, is there a motion to approve 29.1 certificated personnel?
So moved, Anna Conover.
Conover, is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
By Tricia Pierce. Any discussion? I'd like to congratulate Lori Pike for retiring with 20 years of service. She's working at Reagan Elementary. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Carries 5-0. Just a point of clarification, is the Tabitha Ramirez Rodriguez, is she on this next section? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the classified personnel items?
A motion to approve item 30.1 classified personnel.
Pierce, is there a second?
Second, Anna Conover.
Six years experience and she's retiring? That's not a typo? All right. Well, congratulations to her for retiring. That's a long time to work in one place. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Staying on that because I have a conflict due to one of the people in there is my client. So that carries 4-0 to 1. Suggestions for future agendas that receive at least 3 votes.
Actually, I believe I have call out 31.
Want to do that?
Yes,
Sure.
thank you for the opportunity.
All right, so let's do call out of closed session action.
All right, in closed session under item 3.2, the board took action to accept the suspension of classified employee number 285313 bus driver under the progressive disciplinary procedures. This was on a motion by Mrs. Conover, seconded by Mrs. Pierce. Motion carried 5-0. That concludes my remarks.
Suggestions for future agendas that receive at least 3 votes. Mrs. Pierce.
I have no suggestions at this time.
Horace.
I have none, thank you.
Mrs. Jonathan.
How about an observatory? That's just a shout out to Mr. Tomac if he happens to be watching.
Humor him. He creates bad policy. Ms. Conover?
Not at the moment, thank you.
I don't have any either. So announcements, the next regularly scheduled board meeting for Desert Sands Unified School District will be Tuesday, February 6th at 7 o'clock at the District Educational Center. Do you have any more announcements, Mr. Bailey?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, we are not going to reconvene the closed session, and we'll close the meeting at 8:50.